Oh, yeah, this one's gonna be interesting.
For real, we don't know how to act. Yeah, I'm pointing out facts. If I point a finger, that's point of attack. Good point, who's next? Flag on the plate, now I'm causing them death. We bet on ourselves, so what you expect? A die-hard fan, never live with regret. Yes, sir. Go to my neck, go to my neck. Burgundy flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Be my guest. Look how we step. Who we got next? Step on the right, step on the left. Who do we rep? Commanders. Where's my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where's my soldiers? Left side. Commanders. Where's my soldiers? Watch the middle. Commanders. Where's my soldiers? High off the way that this sound, they turn up as soon as they feet hit the ground. I am not playing around. I hit them, I bet that they feeling me now.
Welcome, one and all across the nation and around the world. I welcome you all to episode 4 of the Commanders Gridiron Report. I am your host, Drew Willingham, and today we have a very interesting recap and preview for next week to discuss, but we have to recap this past week and what happened in yesterday's contest against the Buffalo Bills, and let's start that off with the 1st and 10.
They are the Washington Commanders. New name, new marks, new uniform.
Soldiers, are we ready for Operation Burgundy?
And here in the 1st and 10, the Buffalo Bills come to FedEx Field and mollywhop the Washington Commanders by a score of 37-3. And for those of you who were either watching it live on TV, or if you were there at FedEx Field, as a fan of the Commanders, I know it had to have been a rough game to watch. No, for me, it was definitely a rough game to watch. And, you look back on that Giants game that happened in the first week with the Cowboys, that NFC East divisional game, okay? You especially look at what happened yesterday when the Dolphins smacked the Broncos, okay? But we're not going to talk about that because this is the Commanders show. But, I try to take a little bit of shade off of this, but no matter how much I try, there's not enough shade that's going to come off of this game right here. And with that being said, let's go ahead and look at some of those highlights from that contest here with the Burgundy Flex review.
Go to my neck, Burgundy flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Be my guest.
Here with the Burgundy Flex review, I'll even give you the graphic right here with Sam Howell getting punished on that one play right there. But since you see the pick right there, I'm not going to actually show you the highlight. But when it comes to this, we're going to break down probably what I would believe to be the most impactful plays of the game. Let's start it off with the first one. Across for Sam Howell's first interception of the game. Be a 35-yard pass to him, but look at that. Even 8 yards deep from the goal line, throws a dart for that play. That's what helped with this lead right there, as that gave them a 10-0 lead to start the game out. 2 times already in this game. Let's move to the next clip. a little dance in the end zone right there. That's where I got to pull in MJ to say this to Sam Howell after the third interception.
Stop it. Get some help.
Absolutely, because you definitely needed help on that play. Let's take it to the next highlight. Kendall Fuller right here, and from what it seems like, you guys have been hearing me muted or not hearing me. So for the sake of it, and you know what, because, the Commanders messed up yesterday, I'm going to just go ahead and redo the Burgundy Flex review.
Go to my neck, Burgundy flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Be my guest.
Here with the Burgundy Flex review, as you see Sam Howell getting pummeled right there. I apologize for the little bit of technical difficulties. As you know, it's been one wild day. I've been getting over what I believe is a sinus infection. I'll find out tomorrow if it gets worse again after all the stuff I've done today to kind of get things subsided to this point. But let's go ahead and start with the highlights. And for this, let's take a look at the first one. Sam Howell is deep behind the goal line when he threw that dart right there, but would be a 35-yard touchdown, the only touchdown pass for Josh Allen this entire game that would give them a 10-0 lead to start this game out. Very nicely for a field goal that they would capitalize on to give them a 13-0 lead. But on that play by Sam Howell, that being his second interception, he needs this.
Stop it. Get some help.
Because it's not working out for you, brother. Let's go into the next highlight. This hitting hype is he just picked off Sam Howell the third time the Bills have picked off Sam Howell in this contest. Let's go to the next highlight. Fuller is down a little banged up on that play, but intercepts Josh Allen. That would be Josh Allen's lone interception of the game. He throws the ball onto his own helmet, but gets his lone rushing touchdown of the game, has one passing touchdown and one rushing touchdown to this point. Let's move to the next highlight. First career interception. That would be for a pick six as well. How about that for your first career interception, taking it to the house, the fourth interception of the day for Sam Howell. That's what I got to bring in MJ for this one.
Stop it. Get some help.
Now let's take it to the next highlight. The blank score, which they would now get to 3 points, ending the game 37-3, as that was just under the last minute of the game. And as you saw in the crowd, pretty much everybody had dissipated at that point. There was hardly anybody in that end zone stands right there. So when you look at those highlights right there, 4 interceptions by Sam Howell. You got one by Josh Allen. But also on top of that, you had the fumble by Antonio Gibson, which set up the Bills on the 30-yard line for that next possession. Overall, it was a lot on the shoulders of Sam Howell. He definitely had a lot to do with how this game transpired. However, you got to look at things into perspective of how everything turned out. You got to look at the fact that Antonio Gibson had that fumble. And there were some good plays by Howell in between all that. He was starting to overcome some things, but just when it started to look like he was going to overcome it, he would throw another interception. It was like, you have an interception. You have an interception. No, you have an interception. And now you have an interception. He threw it to 4 different people. It wasn't like one person was gobbling them all up. He was spreading that ball around, spreading the wealth around to the other team. So you got to look at it as at least it was fair in that aspect. I got to look at some positivity from this. They got to build from this. At least it wasn't like that Miami Dolphins versus the Denver Broncos game yesterday, which Cole Johnson and I will definitely cover tomorrow on Total Football Talk. Got a couple comments. Let's see what we got so far. Ike is in the house, says, yo! Followed by, looking forward to hearing you break down this one because he is a Giants fan and he is within the NFC East. Guys, that takes us through the Burgundy Flex review. We're going to take it to a first commercial break, and when we come back, we'll discuss the MVPs of the game. And it's kind of hard to give MVPs to the Commanders, so you'll see what I have in store for the MVPs of the week with the Soldiers of the Week. We'll be back after this first commercial break.
Sertova Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he do? He was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What?
See how
Is he going to keep his phone down and not make bets? Come on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to a show where we have just as many commercials as a TNT broadcast, the Sports Sensations Unleashed.
I hate you, Drew.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
The following is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
And welcome back from that commercial break. I do need to update that commercial pack. A lot has changed over the past month, especially with the fact that Total Football Talk is on Tuesdays. That was for the inaugural episode. So my apologies for that. It is on Tuesdays, 4:00 p.m. Eastern time, 3:00 Central, which you will find. And I got a comment during that commercial break. Well, actually, two. Ike was laughing, I guess, at what I said right before the commercial break. But when are we getting in or out back? And I can tell you that in or out will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be episode 101. I haven't done a great job of advertising it. A lot has happened this past weekend. With YouTube kind of surged a little bit, and I had some other things going on, so I didn't really get a chance to really advertisement, but I will be putting it out later tonight. In or out will be back tomorrow, so my apologies for not really advertising that all that well, but episode 101 is tomorrow night at 9:35 p.m. Eastern time. With that being said, thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. We're going to go ahead and take this to the next slide, and that is the Soldiers of the Week.
Where my soldiers, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
And unfortunately, this week, we have to give the Soldiers of the Week to the other team, as Stephon Diggs had 8 receptions, 111 yards, averaging 13.9. We'll just give him 14 yards per catch. Then we had Terrell Bernard, who had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 interception, and I didn't even have enough space to put the fact that he had that fumble recovery from Antonio Gibson as well. So Terrell Bernard was probably the most impactful person, especially on that defense, for this game. Then we have James Cook with 15 carries, 98 yards, averaging 6.5 yards per carry. So when I think about that, I have to give it to the other team for that, because there was so much dismal play by the Commanders. I mean, we had dismal weather throughout, the East Coast this past weekend with the hurricane and stuff, tropical storms, all that stuff coming from all that. So there was dismal play in the atmosphere from the weather, and there was dismal play on the field by the Commanders. So I have to give the Soldiers of the Week to the other team with that. And with that being said, let's take this to the next segment, that being the Showstopper.
High off the way that this sound, they turn up as soon as they feed the ground. I am not playing around. I hit them, I bet that they feeling me now.
And the adjustments that the team should make to improve from week 3 when it comes to this week's Showstopper. Number 1, we talked about week 1, how Sam Howell struggled a little bit, not like this past week, but, he did have a couple turnovers. Then we go to week 2. He improved on all that. Going into Denver. However, you look at how Denver got mollywopped by the Dolphins yesterday. You got to think that it probably wasn't that hard to not play that way. So, you had your first real challenge this past week with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills did have a tough matchup on Monday Night Football. They were prepared for Aaron Rodgers. I guess you can give that excuse, and that's why they lost to Zach Wilson, since Zach Wilson hasn't won since then. But when you think about all that, and I've got, the Dolphins and all that stuff with what happened with the Broncos and all that stuff thinking in my mind, you have to understand that the first 2 weeks they didn't play against high caliber talent. This past weekend was their first real contest, and they got another tough one as they're going against an NFC East rival in the Philadelphia Eagles for 1. But for 2, they're the reigning NFC champions as they were just in the Super Bowl last year. So the biggest thing you need to change is you can't be turning over the football. Your quarterback needs to play it safer than what he did, because I will say out of the 4 interceptions, 1, maybe 2 of them, you couldn't really help. But 2 of them, especially that very last one where you literally just looked like you were just tossing it up like, hey, man, I've already thrown 3. I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. I just want to go to the sideline. Here, you can have the football. That's kind of what it looks like when you have that play. And you know what? Even though for that special situation, I'll go ahead and bring it up again when it comes to that 4th interception. Perspective about how he just looks like he just tossed it up in the air to him like, hey, man, I've already had 3 interceptions. I don't care. I want to get some Powerade on the sideline. Here you go. Hot potato. Run it back to the house. Your first career interception for a pick 6. I'm going to give you an early Christmas present. There you go. We won't see you anymore this year. You're not in our division. Here, pass, ball, take it. It is out of your hands, out of my hands into your hands. Is how I felt in that moment when I saw him throw that 4th interception. So when it comes to the Showstopper, you got to keep the ball, play it safe. Don't turn the football over. It's not all on Sam Howell, because he did have 4 interceptions, but Antonio Gibson also had that turnover as well. The defense on top of that, I can't really throw but so much shade on the defense, because it seemed like when those 4 turnovers the Buffalo Bills got, it put them in prime situation just about on every single turnover to score. So that's 28 points almost. You can pretty much eradicate 28 points of the game right there. And that leaves you with 9 points, which is what those other field goals were. So when I think about, the pick 6, you have Josh Allen's rushing touchdown, his passing touchdown, all of that stuff may be negated or may have turned into only 3 points with those drives. Who knows? But with the Bills playing the way that they did, they probably would have scored, but it would have taken more time off the clock, and the Commanders wouldn't have lost by 34 points. So if you don't turn over the ball as many times as you did, you may have still lost the game. However, when I put it all into perspective and I think about the turnovers, 5 turnovers in total, it would have been a lot of a closer contest. I wouldn't necessarily say the Commanders would have scored more, because it didn't look like their offense was really doing much. They might have had more, we'll say, 3 and outs, or try to go for it on 4th down, some plays, turn the ball over. But when I think about everything when it comes to that, there's no other way that this game would have gone because you're playing a Bills team that's been on the come up for at least the past 5-6 years consistently getting better if you eradicate what they did in that Monday night game. With that being said, let's go ahead and take this into another commercial break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the next week's opponent for week 4. And we'll also talk about some things in the final drive as well. Stick around. We'll see you back after this final commercial break.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he do? He was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What?
See how
Is he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $ D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Slide some Willie Bucks.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to a show where we have just as many commercials as a TNT broadcast. The sports.
Stop it. Get some help.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Commanders Gridiron Report. I am your host, Drew Willingham, and we have 2 more great rounds to go through. Well, I'm already in or out sports debate mode because I'm saying rounds again, but let's go and take it to the opponent of the week and see what the Commanders have in store that I alluded to earlier in the episode.
Look how we step. Who we got next? Step on the right, step on the left. Who do we rep?
And who we got next is the Philadelphia Eagles as we travel. Now, right now, currently on this Monday, the Philadelphia Eagles are undefeated at 2-0. They do have a Monday night game tonight, which could change some things up, but they are now 2-0 as the Commanders come into town 2-1. Now, like I said earlier, with some highlights we were going over with, and especially in the last round, I don't have a lot of high hopes for this game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to go into Philadelphia and they are going to smack around the Eagles. That is not going to happen, especially when you think about Sam Howell's 4 interceptions and Antonio Gibbs' 1 turnover yesterday on the fumble. So there's a lot that transpired in yesterday's game. Now, the Bills are a good team, but the Eagles are an even better team. Okay, you got the Eagles and the Cowboys in the division, and even though the Cowboys, what they did yesterday to the Cardinals, which I cannot wait to break that down tomorrow with Cole on Total Football Talk. But when I put it all into perspective, and I think about the Eagles team that just went to the Super Bowl, they did have a couple key departures, okay? They did make some moves during the offseason as well, but they're still a very good team and have a very good chance of doing it again this year. However, when I weigh the pros and cons, the Commanders played well, well enough the first 2 weeks of the season that they got the wins. They played like Dumpster Pelicans yesterday against the Bills and lost. Almost didn't score at all until it seems like the Bills just kind of let them drive the ball a little bit down the field to get that field goal. Like, hey, we'll give you 3 points. You can have 3 points. But going against the Eagles, they're not going to play you like that because they're blanking you. They're just going to keep blanking you. They're not going to give you any points because you are a division rival. So I feel like coming off this past week, and it's another Sunday game, another 1:00 game. So you do have a good week to prepare. You got Sam Howell. Sam Howell's supposed to be the answer. And I, Drew Willingham, have said things about Sam Howell in the past about, you got high hopes for him. Yes, he's coming from, ACC school, this, that, and all that stuff. I want to throw shade on him. And I saw what he did the first 2 weeks. I saw what he did that one game last year, and I was sold on the fact that Sam Howell could continue to build and be the future. I'm not completely throwing that out yet. This past game could be the game that snaps him out of it and has him realize when he watches the film, and especially the way I broke it down just now, if he thinks about the way that I just broke it down, especially that fourth interception where he just hot potatoed that unit right to him, right to Epinenza. Epinenza. Yeah, there you go. I keep butchering that, so my apologies, AJ. But when you hot potato that unit right to the man, takes to a pick six, you have got to be embarrassed on that one. At least two of those interceptions you should definitely be embarrassed on, and that was one of them there. My man, Sam Howell, I think you're going to learn from it. I think that there's going to be some growing pains because that offensive line needs to have upgrades and give you more protection. Because the problem that I'm seeing is the offensive line is getting battered around, and you don't have enough protection to protect you to give you time to think. If I was back there and I had Dumpster Pelican offensive linemen that were at least playing like Dumpster Pelicans to where they weren't blocking for me, and I had like 0.8 seconds to make a decision, I'm going to make a mistake too. So you're a professional and you're the one playing in the professional football league. And if you're doing that, then that tells me that I would do the same as a regular person. So I'm not telling you it is all on you. There are some decisions, especially that fourth interception, I'm going to throw shade on you for because that was just terrible. You had broken away from that offensive line that was playing like Dumpster Pelicans, and you had time to think about it. And if you would have just arced that ball a little bit more, it would have gone over his hands, but you threw it right to him. Or you underestimated his ability to have great agility and jump and leap and get that pass because it was right in his hands. So if you watch the film and you make the changes necessary, I feel like you can be a little bit more competitive going against the Eagles. You won't lose 37-3, but I feel like this team is still going to beat you by at least 10 to 14 points. Easy. Like I don't, and it could be worse than that, but I'm at least going to give them that credit because divisional games, NFC East, except for when the Giants play the Cowboys, are usually pretty tight. They're pretty competitive because there's rivalries going back decades. Even at times when the Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins, were at their worst points in franchise history, because they're not at their worst point now. They've seen far worse. Dan Snyder's gone. Okay, those teams that Dan Snyder had been a part of building are pretty much dissipated because we had our first offseason with new ownership, even though they weren't around that long during the offseason. They were there maybe like 2 months of the offseason going into this season. So I guess you could say part of this has still got Dan Snyder's hands on it, but he's been pretty hands off the past couple of years anyway, with all the turmoil and stuff that was going on. So the pieces that were in place for making the decisions, and so far they've done a decent job, and especially bringing in Eric Bieniemy has been great, at least for those first 2 games of the season. But this was the wake-up call this past week. And now you go to the Eagles, and I feel like this is going to be another wake-up call. The Commanders still have a long way to go before they're at the top of their division. And you have to be at the top of the division before we can even really talk about you making a run in the playoffs, because we've seen some things from wild card teams in the past, but it's not that often. It's not that prevalent. Usually, our Super Bowl champion, most of the time, comes from a division winner, okay? So my mindset is you got to win the division before you can think about going further in the playoffs. And the Commanders, every single time they've gotten to the playoffs since the 90s, they get to the first round and they get thumped. Or they'll get to the wild card game, they'll win the wild card game, go to the division game, and get thumped, okay? Not like by 37-3 like yesterday, but they'll lose bad enough. Well, they'll be down bad enough to where by the end of the game when the clock hits 0, they lose. So, and it's like the Seahawks have their number in the playoffs. But coming to next week, Philadelphia Eagles, 1 o'clock. I have the Eagles winning by 10 to 14 points. I'll give an actual prediction score tomorrow on Total Football Talk when I have a little bit more time to think about it. But I'm going to say right now 10 to 14 points for this Philadelphia Eagles game that they have there in old Pennsylvania. So we're going to take this to the next and final round. Thank you guys for sticking with me here through the opponent of the week as I'm battling some kind of sinus infection today. But I'm here for you, and we got one more final drive to go to for this episode.
We bet on ourselves, so what you expect? A diehard fan never live with regret. Yes, sir.
And here for the Final drive. Talk about my closing thoughts going into week 4. And I alluded to some of those things as I was talking about how we just got mollywhopped by the Buffalo Bills and how there's a possibility that we can get mollywhopped. I can't say we. The Commanders will get mollywhopped going into Philadelphia playing the Eagles. I think that it's a possibility. I think we're going to see some negativity coming from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm just trying to be real as someone who predicts the sport, okay, of football, because I watch all football. I don't just watch Commanders, even though I am a fan of the formerly known as REDSKINS, but I had to compartmentalize that. I can think about that a little bit when I watch the game, but then part of my mind has to analyze the overall aspects of the game, the offense, the defense, the special teams, the Dumpster Pelican coaching from certain teams, okay? I think about all that and get pumped up and also at some points get depressed when I see things like a 70-point score against the Denver Broncos because I want Sean Payton to actually succeed there and do some decent things because the Denver Broncos have kind of had special love for them because I always liked John Elway in the 90s, even though I was a fan of the formerly known as the REDSKINS. So when I think of everything as a whole, I'm not going to come on this show and just be straight up gung-ho Mr. Commanders fan that's the formerly known as REDSKINS fan, that those ones, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know those fans that come around you and they're like, yeah, we're going to Super Bowl this year. My team going to come on up in here and we're going to do some great things out here. No, Commanders not winning Super Bowl this year. They're not going to win a Super Bowl next year. Maybe the year after that, probably not. But it's possible if you make the right moves and you have Magic Johnson, but it's not happening in 3 years. It's going to probably take about a good portion of 5 to 10 years. But I feel like they can turn some things around. They are not going to turn it around in time to face the Philadelphia Eagles team this Sunday. And Paul Schofield, Michael Bish, all those of you out there who are Philadelphia Eagle fans that I know who may see this show at some point, I'm going to tell you right now, congratulations already because you're going to beat the Commanders this Sunday. Now, do I want to admit that? No, but I have to because I am the host of the Commanders Gridiron Report. And I would be completely biased if I came on here and said, yep, we're going to beat the Eagles by 20 points. That's not happening. That is not happening this week. This week, the Commanders are going to lose 2 straight games by at least 10 to 14 points, and they're going to be 2-2 going into week 5. And we'll discuss that on next week's episode for episode 5 of the Commanders Gridiron Report. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been one interesting day. Normally, we have this show at 3:05 p.m. Eastern time, but I woke up with what I believe is a pretty decent sinus infection. Chunky soup, Mucinex, all sorts of stuff, Vicks, Vapor Rub, all sorts of wild stuff, trying to get my sinuses clear, which I can start to feel and build back up. But I'm trying to get right. Things don't get well enough. I'm going to go to the doctor tomorrow morning because I got 2 great shows tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. I've got Total Football Talk, episode 4, Cole Johnson tomorrow as we recap the entire week of football. About 2 to 2.5 hour show we have been going on as we recap the previous week and we preview the upcoming week. So I'm going to give you some more shade when it comes to the Dumpster Pelican play of yesterday by the Commanders. The only thing is it's a little bit more condensed because we have to keep going throughout the show. So Commanders Gridiron Report, we have the entire show of nothing but Commanders. And I call them Dumpster Pelicans on this episode. And then we have Total Football Talk tomorrow, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 3 o'clock p.m. Central on Sartoba Media and Kobe Media Incorporated between those 2 channels. This show right here is on Sartoba Media as well as Team MBS Media and A7BN Sports. So thank you guys as well for broadcasting this show and let me be a part of your awesome teams there as well. And then, I spoke of the one show tomorrow. I spoke of Total Football Talk tomorrow. But tomorrow night is the return after 6 weeks. In or out sports debate, episode 101 is tomorrow. We had episode 100 back in the first week of August. Then I had the best of episodes 1 through 10 and carried it all the way through 91 through 100. So we covered what I believe were the highlights of the first 100 episodes. That was fun. And then Commanders Gridiron Report kicks off. The Total Football Talk, and then, of course, Thursday nights, the little comedy show that I have, D. Willie in the Evening, which is just a Sartoba Media and myself exclusive, because that's some, awesome comedy that people who don't necessarily like sports will love to see a personality like myself up here on the screen talking about some wild stuff with this energy, but not related to sports. And then, got the in or out sports debate. So a lot of great stuff I'm trying to do out here. We now have 4 episodes a week of shows. And then we got Kyle Nash, who's also contributing to Sartoba Media on Wednesdays, the Student of the Game podcast. And on Fridays, the Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast with Travis Holmes. So thank you guys out there who are helping me build this thing. I don't know if it was a fluke or what kind of surge what happened this past weekend, but I went to bed with like 106 subscribers on YouTube on Friday night. Woke up the next morning with 199. I was like, well, that's cool. Awesome. Like, I guess, a video hit and we got, 93 subscribers at that point. I used the restroom when I get up that morning. I look at my phone. I got some notifications of subscribers again, and it's up 205. And I took a screenshot. I was like, I had a feeling take a screenshot. I start going about my day, start doing stuff because I was on PTO this past weekend. So I was off Friday and Saturday. Start going about my day. I go on YouTube, look at a video, and I start seeing where I got notifications again. And I see I got 250. So I took a screenshot. Then I was intrigued because I was like, 205. We got 99 subs at that point to the screenshot. Now we're at 250. Okay. Now we really are onto something. So I started monitoring that thing all day Saturday. I'm still doing stuff, still going about my day, but I kept checking it like every few minutes, and it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going. Apparently, the Total Football Talk promo video had hit some fire, okay? And it got up to like 1.2 and some change thousand views. Well, within that, and I guess bringing the traffic to the channel, people were starting to like some of the things they were seeing. Some other videos were getting views. And within one day, it took me 101 days to get to 106 subscribers, okay? And one day, we got up to 1,190. So for all of you out there who are watching this now live or syndicated, watching it after it's live, for those of you who subscribe to that channel, whether you're part of my other accounts this is streaming to now with LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and then, of course, YouTube, thank you all who are a part of those channels as well, who have been part of this surge this past weekend in the subscribers or even before that, because I can't do this without you. It would just be me talking to myself, recording on a screen if you weren't watching. So thank you for taking the time to watch this show, which is usually every Monday at 3:05. But I had to get well. I wasn't not going to do this show. If it was after Monday Night Football, if it's like 11:30 on a Monday, I'm going to be here on Monday doing this show. I don't know if I would have gotten to this energy level. Because I like being at this energy level. That's why I couldn't do it at 3:05. I just wasn't feeling it. Like I tried. It was like 2:55, and I was like, no, I cannot do it right now. I gotta listen to my body, take some more medicine, and lay down a little bit. And that's what I did. And now I'm here. So for those of you who waited to watch it live, for those of you who are going to watch it after it's not live, thank you just for watching. Thank you for being part of something that I deem is special in a project. The team didn't play special yesterday. They played like a bunch of Dumpster Pelicans, and it really irks my nerves, okay? But when I get back to the journalistic side of it, I have to let it subside and just say thank you, as always, for tuning in. We've only got one more thing left to do, and that's look at one mother-fathering badass outro. As always, everyone stay safe out here in these streets.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side, Commanders, where my soldiers, left side, Commanders, where my soldiers, watch the middle, Commanders, where my soldiers, now we set, where my soldiers, right side, Commanders, where my soldiers, left side, now we set, where my soldiers, watch the middle. Commanders, where my soldiers, hit 'em.
Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
We don't have to go home, but we got to get on up out of here. Y'all have a safe rest of the week. I'll see you next Monday.